Greetings everyone, and welcome. Tonight, let's gently explore something we see every day, but rarely think about. The quiet story behind the meat we eat. From hidden farms, to small choices, and the surprising truth that might change how you see it forever. So get comfortable, relax, and let's begin. The hidden story behind the meat we eat. For most people, meat is simply a normal part of everyday life. It appears neatly packaged in supermarkets, already cut and prepared, far removed from the farms and animals it originally came from. Because of this distance, many people rarely think about the journey that meat takes before it reaches their plate. Yet behind this ordinary product lies a complex global system of farming, economics, and ethical questions that affect billions of animals every year. Humans have eaten meat for thousands of years. In early human history, hunting animals was necessary for survival. Later, as agriculture developed, people began raising animals on farms. For most of that time, animals were kept in relatively small numbers, often outdoors, where they could move freely and behave more naturally. Meat was valuable and somewhat rare, which meant animals were raised more slowly and often with greater care. However, during the 20th century, the world changed dramatically. As the global population grew and demand for affordable food increased, agriculture began to industrialize. This transformation led to the rise of what scientists and economists call industrial livestock farming. The goal of this system is simple: produce as much meat as possible, as quickly and cheaply as possible. Today, billions of animals are raised every year for food. Chickens, pigs, and cattle are the most common. Chickens alone account for more than 70 billion animals raised annually worldwide. In many industrial systems, animals are kept in extremely crowded environments. Chickens may live their entire lives in large barns with thousands of other birds. Pigs are sometimes kept in narrow enclosures where movement is very limited. These systems are designed to maximize efficiency, reduce costs, and produce meat that remains affordable for consumers. From an economic perspective, this system has been very successful. Meat has become far cheaper than it was in the past. In many countries, people can eat meat almost every day, something that would have been rare just a century ago. But this efficiency has also created difficult ethical questions. Many researchers, veterinarians, and animal welfare scientists argue that some modern farming practices cause unnecessary suffering. When animals are kept in very tight spaces, they may be unable to express natural behaviors such as walking, nesting, or exploring. Stress, illness, and injuries can become more common in overcrowded environments. For animals that are intelligent and social, such as pigs, which have cognitive abilities similar to dogs, these conditions can be especially challenging. Importantly, this situation is usually not the result of cruelty from individual farmers. Instead, it is largely driven by economic pressure. Supermarkets compete to offer the lowest prices, and consumers often choose the cheapest options available. To survive in such a market, producers must reduce costs wherever possible. Small differences in cost, sometimes just a few cents per kilogram, can determine whether a farm remains profitable. This raises an interesting question that many economists and animal welfare experts have begun to study. How much would it actually cost to improve animal welfare? Surprisingly, in many cases the answer is not very much. Some improvements are relatively simple. Providing animals with slightly more space, allowing outdoor access, improving ventilation, or using slower-growing breeds of chickens can significantly improve their living conditions. Research suggests that many of these changes would increase the cost of meat only slightly, sometimes just a few percent. In practical terms, this might mean paying a few extra cents for a chicken sandwich or slightly more for a package of meat at the grocery store. Because of this, The debate around meat consumption is not only about whether people should eat meat at all. For many experts, the more realistic question is how society can produce meat in a way that reduces unnecessary suffering while still feeding billions of people. Around the world, awareness of this issue is slowly growing. Some countries have introduced new animal welfare laws. Certain supermarkets now offer higher welfare products, and labels such as free-range or pasture-raised are becoming more common. At the same time, scientists are researching alternative farming systems that could improve conditions without dramatically increasing prices. Understanding these systems does not necessarily mean that people must stop eating meat entirely. Instead, it allows consumers to make more informed choices about the food they buy and the systems they support. What life is actually like inside modern farms. To understand the ethical questions surrounding meat production, it is important to look at how animals are actually raised in modern farming systems. Industrial livestock farming is designed for efficiency, which means producing the maximum amount of meat using the smallest amount of space, time, and resources. This system allows billions of people to afford meat, but it also shapes the daily lives of the animals raised within it. Chickens are the most numerous animals raised for food. Most chickens grown for meat are known as broiler chickens, a breed that has been carefully selected over decades to grow extremely quickly. In many industrial farms, a chicken can reach market weight in about 6 weeks. Inside large poultry houses, thousands or even tens of thousands of chickens live together on the floor of a single building. Automated systems provide food, water, and temperature control, allowing farmers to care for very large flocks with relatively few workers. These barns are carefully managed environments. Lighting is often controlled to influence the chickens' feeding and resting cycles. Ventilation systems regulate airflow and temperature so the birds can grow efficiently. From a production perspective, these systems are very advanced. However, because so many birds live in one space, movement can be limited, especially as the chickens grow larger. Pigs are another important part of the global meat supply. Pigs are known to be intelligent and curious animals that naturally explore their environment by rooting in the soil and interacting with other pigs. In modern pig farms, however, space is usually restricted in order to house many animals in a controlled environment. Some pigs are raised in group pens, while others may spend part of their lives in individual stalls designed to make feeding and management easier. For female pigs that are used for breeding, special enclosures called gestation stalls have historically been used in many countries. These stalls allow farmers to monitor each animal individually and prevent fighting between pigs. However, they also limit the animal's ability to turn around or move freely. Because of growing public concern, several countries and companies have begun moving away from these systems toward group housing. Cattle farming can look very different depending on the region and type of production. In some systems, cattle spend much of their lives grazing in open pastures, especially in countries with large rural landscapes. In other systems, particularly toward the final months before slaughter, cattle may be moved to large feeding facilities known as feedlots, where they are given high-energy diets to gain weight quickly. Feedlots are designed to efficiently produce beef for large populations. Hundreds or sometimes thousands of cattle may be kept together in open enclosures where they have constant access to food and water. These environments allow farmers to monitor the animals closely and protect them from certain environmental stresses. However, critics argue that these systems may not provide the same natural environment that grazing cattle would normally experience. Despite these challenges, many farmers genuinely care about the animals they raise. Healthy animals grow better, which means that farmers have strong economic reasons to maintain good health conditions. Veterinarians regularly monitor livestock, and farms use advanced technologies to detect illness, regulate climate, and improve feeding systems. In recent years, animal welfare science has become an important field of research. Scientists study animal behavior, stress levels, and health indicators to understand how different farming systems affect animals. Their research has helped develop new guidelines for space requirements, enrichment materials, and improved housing designs. These improvements show that farming systems are not fixed forever. As knowledge grows and public awareness increases, agricultural practices can evolve. Some farms are experimenting with slower-growing chicken breeds, enriched pig environments with straw and toys, and cattle systems that combine grazing with modern management. The challenge facing the global food system is balancing several important goals at the same time: producing enough food for billions of people, keeping prices affordable, supporting farmers' livelihoods, and improving the lives of the animals raised for food. How much would it really cost to treat animals better? When people first hear about the conditions in industrial farming, many assume that improving animal welfare would make meat dramatically more expensive. The common belief is that humane farming would turn meat into a luxury product that only wealthy people could afford. But when economists and agricultural researchers began studying this question in detail, the results were often surprising. In many cases, improving animal welfare does not require completely rebuilding the food system. Instead, relatively small changes in how animals are housed and raised can significantly improve their quality of life. For example, giving chickens slightly more space inside barns, providing pigs with bedding material such as straw, or allowing cattle more time on pasture can make a noticeable difference in animal behavior and stress levels. These changes do increase production costs, but often by much less than people expect. Studies from agricultural economists in Europe and North America suggest that improving basic welfare standards for chickens might increase the final retail price of chicken meat by only a few percent. In practical terms, that could mean paying just a few cents more for a chicken sandwich or a slightly higher price for a package of chicken at the grocery store. Part of the reason for this relatively small increase is that the largest cost in meat production is not always the animal's living space. Feed, transportation, processing, and retail distribution all make up large portions of the final price that consumers pay. Because of this, improvements in living conditions sometimes represent only a small part of the overall cost of the product. Another important factor is efficiency. Industrial farming systems are designed to maximize productivity, and even small changes can affect how quickly animals grow or how much space a farm requires. For example, slower-growing chicken breeds tend to be healthier and experience fewer physical problems, but they take longer to reach market weight. This means farmers must feed them longer and use housing for more time, which adds some additional cost. However, researchers have also found that better welfare conditions can sometimes reduce certain problems. Healthier animals may require fewer medical treatments and can experience lower mortality rates. In some cases, this can partially offset the additional costs of improved housing or slower growth. Consumer behavior also plays an important role in this equation. When supermarkets and restaurants offer higher welfare products and clearly label them, many consumers are willing to pay slightly more for meat that was produced under better conditions. Over the past decade, this demand has led to the growth of labels such as free-range, pasture-raised, and animal welfare approved. Large food companies have also started responding to this demand. Some restaurant chains and grocery stores have committed to sourcing eggs from cage-free systems or chicken raised under improved welfare standards. When large buyers change their purchasing policies, it can influence farming practices across entire supply chains. Interestingly, surveys show that many consumers say they care deeply about animal welfare, yet their purchasing decisions do not always reflect those values. This is sometimes called the attitude-behavior gap. People may support better farming practices in theory, but still choose the cheapest product when standing in front of a supermarket shelf. Because of this gap, some experts believe that government regulations may play a role in improving welfare standards. Several countries have already introduced laws that limit certain farming practices, such as extremely small cages for laying hens or long-term confinement systems for pigs. In the end, the true cost of reducing animal suffering may be smaller than many people imagine. For an individual consumer, the difference might only amount to a few extra dollars each month. Yet when multiplied across billions of meals worldwide, those small changes could significantly improve the lives of billions of animals. How intelligent are the animals we eat? For a long time, many people assumed that farm animals were simple creatures driven mostly by instinct. Chickens, pigs, and cows were often seen as animals with limited awareness of the world around them. However, over the past several decades, scientists who study animal behavior have discovered something surprising. Many farm animals are far more intelligent, emotional, and socially complex than previously believed. Pigs, in particular, are often considered one of the most intelligent domesticated animals. Studies have shown that pigs can solve simple puzzles, learn from experience, and even remember solutions for long periods of time. In some cognitive tests, pigs have demonstrated problem-solving abilities similar to those observed in dogs and even young children. They can learn to navigate mazes, recognize patterns, and respond to visual symbols on screens. Pigs are also highly social animals. In natural environments, they live in small groups where individuals form stable relationships. They recognize other members of their group and remember social hierarchies. Researchers have observed pigs cooperating with one another in tasks that require teamwork, suggesting that they are capable of complex social interactions. Chickens, which are the most commonly farmed animals in the world, have also surprised scientists. For many years, they were thought to have very limited mental abilities. However, research has shown that chickens can recognize dozens of individual birds and maintain complex social structures known as pecking orders. They can remember which individuals are dominant and which are subordinate within their group. Even more fascinating is the discovery that chickens communicate with a variety of distinct vocal signals. Scientists have identified dozens of different calls that chickens use to warn others about predators, signal the discovery of food, or communicate with their chicks. Some studies suggest that mother hens even communicate with their chicks while they are still inside the egg. Cows, too, have shown unexpected emotional depth. Observational studies indicate that cattle form friendships and prefer spending time with certain individuals within their herd. When separated from familiar companions, cows can show signs of stress and agitation. When reunited, they often display clear signs of relief and social bonding. Research has also shown that many farm animals experience emotional states that resemble basic forms of happiness, curiosity, frustration, and fear. For example, when animals are given opportunities to explore new environments or solve simple challenges, they often show signs of positive engagement. Scientists sometimes refer to this as animal enrichment, where stimulating environments improve both mental and physical well-being. Because of these discoveries, animal welfare science has begun focusing not only on preventing suffering but also on allowing animals to express natural behaviors. This includes providing materials for pigs to explore, perches and nesting areas for chickens, and opportunities for cattle to graze and move freely. These insights do not necessarily mean that people must completely stop eating meat, but they do raise important questions about how animals should be treated during their lives. If animals are capable of experiencing complex emotions and social relationships, their living conditions may matter more than previously assumed. Around the world, this growing understanding of animal intelligence is gradually influencing farming practices, food companies, and consumer awareness. As science continues to reveal more about the inner lives of animals, society is beginning to rethink what responsible meat production might look like. New technologies that could change the future of meat. As awareness of animal welfare grows, scientists, farmers, and food companies are searching for new ways to produce meat while reducing animal suffering. In recent years, several emerging technologies and farming approaches have begun to reshape how people think about the future of food. These innovations aim to balance three important goals: feeding a growing global population, protecting the environment, and improving the lives of animals. One of the most widely discussed developments is plant-based meat alternatives. These products are designed to mimic the taste, texture, and cooking behavior of traditional meat but are made entirely from plants such as soy, peas, wheat, or mushrooms. Advances in food science have allowed companies to recreate complex flavors and textures that were once difficult to achieve without animal ingredients. The goal of these alternatives is not necessarily to replace all meat consumption overnight. Instead, they offer an option for people who want to reduce their meat intake while still enjoying familiar foods like burgers, sausages, or chicken-style dishes. In many supermarkets today, plant-based products are displayed next to traditional meat, making them easier for consumers to try. Another technology attracting attention is cultivated meat, sometimes called lab-grown meat. Unlike plant-based products, cultivated meat is made from real animal cells. Scientists take a small sample of cells from an animal and grow them in carefully controlled environments where the cells multiply and form muscle tissue. In theory, this process could produce meat without raising and slaughtering large numbers of animals. The science behind cultivated meat is still developing, and there are challenges to overcome before it becomes widely available. Producing these products at a large scale remains expensive, and researchers are still working to improve efficiency and reduce costs. However, several countries have already approved limited sales of cultivated meat products, and investment in this technology continues to grow. At the same time, traditional farming is also evolving. Many farmers are experimenting with systems that combine modern efficiency with improved animal welfare. These include pasture-based systems, enriched environments for pigs and chickens, and farming practices that give animals more space and opportunities to behave naturally. Technology is also helping farmers monitor animal health more effectively. Sensors, cameras, and artificial intelligence can now track animal movement, feeding patterns, and environmental conditions inside barns. These systems allow farmers to detect illness earlier, improve ventilation and temperature control, and respond more quickly to potential problems. Another promising area of innovation involves improving feed efficiency. Researchers are developing new types of animal feed that help animals grow in healthier ways while reducing environmental impacts. Better nutrition can improve animal health and reduce the need for certain medications, which benefits both farmers and animals. Consumer awareness is also driving change. As more people learn about how food is produced, many begin asking questions about animal welfare, sustainability, and transparency in farming. This growing curiosity encourages companies to share more information about their supply chains and adopt higher welfare standards. None of these solutions alone will completely transform the global food system. However, together they represent an important shift in how society thinks about meat production. Instead of focusing only on producing the cheapest food possible, researchers and policymakers are increasingly asking how food can be produced responsibly and sustainably. The future of meat may not be defined by a single technology or farming method. Instead, it may involve a combination of improved farming practices, new food technologies, and more informed consumer choices. How small choices can change the entire system. When people think about the global meat industry, it often seems too large and complex for individual actions to matter. After all, billions of animals are raised every year, and the system that produces meat involves farms, processing plants, transportation networks, supermarkets, and international trade. Yet throughout history, large systems have often changed because millions of small individual decisions slowly shifted demand. Every time someone buys food, they are indirectly supporting a particular type of farming system. When consumers choose products that are produced with higher animal welfare standards, such as free-range eggs, pasture-raised meat, or certified humane products, they send signals through the market. These signals may seem small at first, but when repeated by millions of people, they influence how companies and farmers operate. Food companies pay close attention to consumer behavior. Supermarkets constantly analyze which products sell well and which ones do not. If customers increasingly choose higher welfare products, stores respond by stocking more of them. This, in turn, encourages suppliers and farms to adjust their production methods to meet that demand. Over the past decade, this process has already begun in several parts of the world. In many countries, major food retailers and restaurant chains have announced commitments to switch to cage-free eggs or to source meat from farms that follow improved welfare standards. These decisions were not made in isolation. They were largely driven by changing consumer expectations. Information also spreads faster today than ever before. Documentaries, scientific research, and investigative journalism have helped many people understand more about how food is produced. Social media, online videos, and educational content allow this information to reach global audiences within hours. As a result, conversations about animal welfare are becoming more common. At the same time, many farmers are adapting to these changing expectations. Some farms are redesigning barns to provide animals with more space and natural light. Others are returning to pasture-based systems or experimenting with hybrid approaches that combine modern technology with traditional farming practices. These changes often require investment, but they can also create new markets and opportunities. Governments also play a role in shaping the future of food production. Regulations that improve animal welfare standards, provide transparency in labeling, or support farmers during transitions can help guide the industry toward more sustainable practices. In many countries, these policies are already evolving as scientific understanding and public awareness grow. However, meaningful change rarely happens instantly. Food systems develop over decades, and they tend to evolve gradually rather than through sudden transformation. What matters most is the direction in which they move. Even modest improvements, such as slightly better housing, more space for animals, or improved health monitoring, can reduce suffering for millions of animals over time. For individuals, the most powerful tool is often simple awareness. Understanding where food comes from and how it is produced allows people to make choices that align with their values. Some may choose to reduce their meat consumption, others may support higher welfare farms, and some may explore new food technologies that aim to reduce animal suffering. The goal of these discussions is not necessarily to judge personal choices, but to better understand the systems that provide our food. By learning more about how these systems work, society can begin asking better questions about what kind of future it wants for farming, animals, and food production. In the end, the story of meat is not only about animals or agriculture. It is also about human values, economic systems, scientific progress, and the everyday decisions that shape the world around us. And sometimes, even the smallest choices can slowly transform systems that once seemed impossible to change. Sleep well, and I'll see you in the next video.